chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to College Volleyball Weekly Beach Top 20 episode. I think it's 274, but check me on that one because I just had another episode literally right before this call. On screen, we have a librarian and someone who just freshly washed their hair. That would be Sydney Miller, the librarian.
You guess who's who?
Yeah. And Kylie Wickley of Texas. Evening, ladies. Always a pleasure to see your smiling faces here on the podcast.
Good evening. Oh my gosh, I'm at your guys' time. It feels so weird. It's not afternoon.
Yep, she had to fly on into Southern California for their tournament at Ocean Park in Santa Monica. So, and Kylie's hanging in Austin, Texas, leaves tomorrow for their tournament. And where is the CCSA doing theirs this year?
Baton Rouge.
At Death Volley?
Yep.
Oh boy, the 14 tournament. We'll talk about all that because we've officially finished the regular season and coming off of a senior weekend as well as an engagement is Kylie Wickley. I don't think we've mentioned anything about you becoming engaged.
We not?
I don't think we have.
Wow.
So she is off the market, gentlemen that are listening. She's got a cadet as a fiance now, and I think he knows how to use a knife. So, Kylie, talk to us about senior weekend and anything that stuck out this last week, which is week 8 of the NCAA Collegiate Beach Volleyball season.
Senior weekend, eventful, we had Cal Poly come to us, and that was really fun to see them. I feel like they've been one of those teams everyone's been talking about. Like, they had some big wins this season, so it was really nice to be able to compete against them. We went 3-2. We obviously hoped to have won that, but I think it was a good matchup for us, and I feel like we got to just like test ourselves, I guess. And then we also got UNF, which was a good game too. Yeah.
Well, UNF has been in the top 20 this entire season. And I mean, they're obviously looking to get into the tournament either by automatic or at large. But what struck you most about the UNF team?
Well, a few of them did some horns down, which we didn't really like so much. So I think that everyone's pretty fired up to play them after that. I would say like they're pretty athletic, and like overall pretty good team. But
Yeah. Well, North Florida comes in at they're going to be in the A-Sun Beach Championship. They start off the quarters. They finished the season of 22-9 on a 3 dual losing streak. That's Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, Cal Poly 05, and against number 7 Texas 05 this last weekend. So, but they have some time to gather, recoup, and play in their beach championship this weekend. So let's jump over to Sydney Miller of Hawaii. What say you about your final week of the regular season?
So this week we actually had off, but last week we hosted senior night for our seniors at Hawaii, and Cal and GCU came out, which are both solid teams. And they are pretty tough competition to have on senior night, but I mean, I'd rather have tough competition than super easy competition, in my opinion. But maybe that's biased because I'm not a senior and it's not my senior night. But yeah, we didn't end up winning. But I mean, it was fun volleyball throughout the weekend, and it was a really nice weekend. And it's always fun to play teams like that.
Quite the dichotomy of senior nights because for Texas, they only lost 2 seniors. That Kylie, one of them, and Maddie Parmelli, the other. But Sydney, what's Hawaii's status? Another big class loss like last year?
No, we only lost 3. So Alana Embry and Amira Ali and Kendall Kalen, who are all grad transfers. So they all have another year. So they're all in the portal.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Well, with that, we had talked about before jumping on it was a pretty inactive week as far as upsets, with the exception
Yeah.
of one team, and that was Georgia State, who comes in, or actually, of course, I get the new poll today, and I've got all my notes. They come in at number 15, but have dropped down to 18. They had 3 losses to finish their season, which is kind of a shocker because they usually are the powerhouse in their conference, which is a Sun Belt conference. Um, Coastal Carolina 2-3, South Carolina 2-3, and FGCU 2-3. So they were in the battle. They just fell short in each one. But with the tournament coming up, how important is it to actually have good momentum going in, or do these 3 losses act as an obstacle going in to their conference tournament? What do you guys think?
I personally think it's kind of a huge disadvantage. I think teams who have momentum towards the end of the season are gonna be a team that had momentum at the start of the season any day of the week. I think it's really hard to go into the most important tournament of the season and then just be expected to break a 3 losing streak. So I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see what Georgia State can do, but that's very hard to come back from, in my opinion.
Yeah. How about you, Kylie? Thoughts on the Georgia State and going into the Sun Belt Conference tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you are trying to peak at the end of the season, and so to not be peaking at the end of the season, like actually doing the opposite is pretty hard. And I feel like you're kind of like building up your confidence at the season, so at the end you can really like go through, and they're kind of not there, which is like a difficult mentality to kind of be in as a player. And so I I'm curious to see kind of how they do in their conference tournament, but those other teams I feel like might be a little bit more fired up and like ready to go than they are.
Yeah.
Point.
Yep. Well, looking at some other teams here, one of the most obvious matchups that's on the radar of a lot of people, the Battle of LA matchup, crosstown rivals UCLA USC. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, and UCLA did it here at the end with a 3-2 win. But apparently, it's high drama. UCLA moves back into the number 1 spot now, second week in a row. Are they the team to beat going into the MPSF tournament and Gulf Shores? What do you guys think? Want to go, Kylie?
I feel like they're always the team to beat. I mean, I feel like every team's a team to beat though. Like Stanford's gonna be the team to beat, USC is still gonna be the team to beat, and UCLA is still gonna be the team to beat. And there's still 2 more weeks, and like they're gonna have to play each other again this weekend, and they can beat them 4 in a row. I mean, that's pretty crazy. They're rivals too, so yeah, you never know.
Yep. How about you, Sydney? Thoughts on that LA matchup in the MPSF?
I honestly wasn't surprised that UCLA beat USC this past weekend because it was UCLA senior night, and you kind of always have like a little bit extra on your side when it's your senior night. So I honestly wasn't surprised that they had beaten them. I think USC is the closest they've been to beating UCLA this season so far, this past weekend. So I I don't know. Kind of like what Kylie said, it's very hard to beat a team once, it's very hard to beat a team twice, and it's very hard to beat a team 4 times. So I am very interested to see what pans out. And even if UCLA does end up beating USC or Stanford or any of these teams in their postseason game, I don't think that that has any, it doesn't set anything for NCAAs. Like anything can still happen in NCAAs. Like I know in the past, UCLA like won the Pac-12 conference and they didn't win an
Mhm.
NCAAs and USC won. So like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's definitely like a momentum booster and definitely like it helps your confidence, but it never is like setting anything in stone.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's take a peek. Let's go through the top 20. FGCU, actually, I should probably go to this year's poll or this week's poll instead of the stuff on my note sheet to you guys. But FGCU moves into the 18 spot tie with Georgia State. And at the 20 spot is Washington. Washington heads into the MPSF championship starting tomorrow, which I will be at. And Washington playing good, but they're just in a tough conference. It's gonna be hard for them to, I think, get out of that bracket. But as you're saying, anything can happen. Their ones and two pairs, when I saw them in Laguna Beach, were solid. They're just young. So, maybe something could happen in the opening round because they're one of the first two duels of the day in Huntington Beach. And we already spoke about Northern Florida comes in 17. FAU, though. Thoughts on FAU as they go into their conference tournament, the Conference USA Championship. Obviously, we talked about this because a team that actually Kylie played against, Tulane, ending up setting FAU, which, I mean, I think that conference is going to be a lot more competitive than people think because there's a few powerhouses in there between FAU, Stetson, Tulane. That's going to be a dogfight to get that one automatic berth. So, Sydney, have you seen any of those teams yourself?
I mean, we played Stetson in Laguna 2 weekends ago or 3 weekends ago now, and kind of like you said, they are hungry, and I think that all those teams kind of know that they really need the automatic bid, so they're all going to be giving it their 100% all to win the automatic bid, and I think that it's not an obvious answer at all. I think it could go any way, and I am not going to be surprised if it's super close, if they're 3-2s. Like, I would be surprised if it was a 5-0, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So,
Yeah.
I think, like you said, it's going to be a dogfight to get that bid.
Well, Kyle, I'm going to have you focus on the next two because you have connections to both of these teams, be they directly or indirectly. Grand Canyon and Arizona State. Grand Canyon goes into the MPSF tournament. Arizona State's in a 4-team conference of the Big 12. Um, So Grand Canyon has to battle with the top powerhouses of UCLA, USC, Cal, Stanford, and then you add in Oregon and Washington into that mix. And then Arizona State, their 4-team conference adds Arizona, TCU, and is it Utah in as the fourth team of that conference. So having one has to rely on the at-large, the other can win their way in a very gauntlet of a tournament. But what are your thoughts? You've actually seen both those teams because they were hosted at Texas in the first few duels of the year.
Yeah, I think GCU, I mean, I think it like they can compete and show that they're like there for some games. They have a chance of going to NCAAs. I wouldn't count them out of winning the MPSF, but I think some of those teams are definitely um like a lot stronger than them, like, and they've shown that kind of throughout the season. So, I don't know, we'll kind of see there. But I think if they can like knock off Cal and like play some good games, they might sneak a spot in there. I think Arizona State too, it's hard being in one of those like non-bid conferences.
Mhm.
Because like if they win, they can go, but if they don't win, then it still is like a toss up in the air for them if they're gonna go or not.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Anything to add on GCU, Sydney, before we jump over to Arizona State?
I think GCU, at least what I saw this past weekend at our senior night, I think that they start very slow in duels. I think they're kind of, I don't know, maybe just a little chilled in all the first sets. And then they kind of get their act together in the second sets. So I think if maybe they can start out strong from the get-go, they would have a way better chance of beating some of these really good teams that are really hard to come back from. But that's just my personal opinion. It's kind of harsh, but that's the way I feel when I see it.
That's
So
the way it is when Sydney
yeah.
speaks. Um, for GCU, I was looking through their lineup here as they went into the final week of the season. They kind of mixed things up because from what I saw in Austin for one of the invitationals, they've mixed up. The Drake sisters aren't together. They've broken them up and they're playing at different spots in the pairs, which I'm like, wow, why would you break them apart? They're winning. But hey, coach knows better than I do. So, but they also got Inez Pere at the ones with Adriana Ferro, which I mean, it's unfortunate you have to play at the ones, and the best teams are at the ones, and they've just been on the short end, although battling at each and every one. But I can see them pulling one off in the MPSF championship. Um, On the Arizona State side, obviously one of the standouts has been sister of former CVW Beach Top 20 contributor Jade Whitmarsh. That'd be Kendall Whitmarsh, who has been playing phenomenal ball with her partner, Ava Hoy. She's been winning. In fact, they swept the weekend. So Arizona State, in that 14 conference, they could get the short end of the stick with the at-large, having to been on the at-large. So we shall see. We're going to enter. This is where it gets kind of touchy here. Long Beach State, LSU. Long Beach State at 10, LSU at 11. What are your thoughts on any of those two teams? We'll start with you, Sydney, this time.
I think Long Beach, they are they have a very good top of the lineup. I think their bottom of the lineup, they're still kind of like figuring out and moving around. So I'll be interested to see how they do in Big West. I think they have done enough this season though, where they'll still, if they don't win Big West, they I think would still have an opportunity to make it to NCAAs. LSU, I feel like I don't really remember any upsets that they have done personally. Like I remember Long Beach just beat Cal Poly, which was like a big upset for them. I like off the top of my head, I can't really remember anything for LSU. So I don't know. I mean, definitely a top contender for winning their conference, but I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, you're looking for that signature upset is what you're looking
Yeah.
for LSU.
Which I
I
don't remember
consider
them
number
having.
18 Hawaii a pretty big upset, though. Sorry to bring up bad memory. Sorry, Sydney.
I'm gonna go cry after this.
Well, they also upset
I'm
Cal
bitter.
East versus West in Austin.
They beat Cal?
Yeah, that was
Okay. I mean,
the big.
that's a pretty good upset. Like, I don't know. I just feel like in the past, I feel like I've maybe heard more upsets from them. So a little bit like just surprised of that what they're used to is not as much this year.
Yeah. Oh, wait a second here. We're gonna all eat our words in a
Oh
second here.
gosh.
Are you ready?
No.
So
Maybe USC.
that's the one. No, but at East versus West, they upset Cal 3-2 and Arizona State when they were 11-3-2. And then the next weekend at Death Valley Invitational, they beat USC and Long Beach State.
So what am I looking at? Like, where am I in the volleyball world when this is happening? I'm so sorry, LSU. I'll take back what I said. Maybe I need to be more aware of what's going on with you guys. Holy
Well,
moly.
I was I was discussing with someone else, what are the signature wins? And I couldn't remember because the other person was saying, if it comes down to an at-large, LSU could be left out in the cold. I'm like, one, I don't think the committee is going to leave LSU out of the mix come
They're
go
a
forward time.
postseason team.
They're a
Yeah.
postseason team.
But then I'm like, okay, let's go back and look at some of their signature wins. That's a pretty good handful
That's a
right
good
there.
chunk. Yeah, that's a good chunk. I
So
don't see them
Kylie,
getting left out with that chunk now. See, I didn't know those, and without being aware of those, I was kind of like, maybe not, but hearing those, it's signature wins are very important when getting into NCAAs. So
yeah. How about you, Kylie? Anything to add on the LSU situation?
I feel like I feel like Long Beach and LSU are like historically very different teams in the postseason. I feel like Long Beach kind of historically is like tanked when they get to the postseason. Like they're not performing super well at either conference or NCAAs, and LSU is like gearing up in conference and then like got third last year
Mm-hmm.
at NCAAs. And so based on that, I think that could maybe affect the committee's decision on things, depending on what happens in conference.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, LSU, there've been a couple pairs that you got to watch at the East versus West. That I think if you're watching LSU here in the CCSA tournament, Parker Bracken and Gabby Bailey at the ones. You got Elle Evers and Cameron Chatelier, who were at the threes, but they moved up to the twos, and that moved Aubrey O'Gorman and Julia Sprecher back to the threes. Those three teams can take people out, and all you need is three to win the duel. So, I'm telling you, watch out, LSU could sneak up there. Now, is your tournament going to be played to decision or completion? I'm curious.
I don't
Not
Me?
know
that
yet.
Who are you talking to? Me or Kylie?
well, Kylie, for if she's where, I mean, obviously it doesn't matter. He's got to get the 3 points, but I wonder if they played out, even though it's been an afterthought.
I don't think so. I think they'll be done at 3
They'll
to
be done.
completion.
All right, so we are now entering the top 10. Wish Mary Lou was here. Cal and Florida State. Actually, let me go back to this week's poll. Cal and Florida State still at 8-9. So yes, we can talk about Cal and Florida State. What sticks out most about any of these two teams for the both of you? Let's start with you, Sydney.
Cal, I think they're pretty deep. They have almost every younger player with a very experienced player, and I think that like shows out for their benefit. I think, yeah, I just think their bottom of their lineup is very good, and also the top of their lineup is like quite good also. Like it's very hard to play against Port Sherman and Emma Donnelly. Like who do you even serve? Um, and then who was the other team? Sorry. Florida
That
State.
would, yes, Florida State.
Again, Florida State's always a top contender. Like we've talked about in the past, they're definitely younger this year. But I mean, again, I would never count them out. I think they have all the athletic talent. They just need to, maybe buckle down on the mental side and like be able to really focus on what the end goal is. But I mean, I wouldn't ever put it past anybody. Like as long as they're all shooting for the same goal, I could see them getting it done.
Yeah. How are you, Kylie? Any of the two teams? Cal,
Um,
Florida State.
I mean, I think last weekend for FSU was pretty tough. They didn't win a single game.
Mhm.
And I think like that's definitely tough going to postseason. And also a lot of their pairs have like still kind of been switching out in and out a
Mhm.
lot, which is definitely hard, but maybe now that it's conference, like the lineup's kind of locked in, players will maybe feel a little bit more confident and like secure in their position, so they might perform better.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm interested to see that. And then I think Cal too, I feel like they haven't peaked yet. So I'm definitely interested to see how they do at MPSF.
Yeah. Well, on the note of Florida State, they've been off now for what's going to be 2 weeks. They were idle, but their last two losses, and then we got to be totally fair to them. Number 5, Stanford. Number 6, USC. So now at the youth shows, they went to 3 sets, and that the scores are kind of all over the place. USC will take one, FSU take one, they lose big in the third set, like 15-6. So, and that's just youth, if anything else. But I mean, if we all know from past few tournaments, teams can shine in the postseason. So, regarding Cal, Emma Donnelly, Portia Sherman, they have the ability to get it done, and they will get it done. And their twos aren't very, they're not beatable. They can be fiery. Sierra Caffo and Gia Fisher are always team watching them. They're solid all the way out. And um, I wouldn't sleep on Cal in the tournament. That's for sure. um, next group of teams we're going to look at here will be Texas and Cal Poly. We'll let, well, actually, there's going to be a bias because Sydney's in the Big West. And I don't know if she'll speak kindly about Cal Poly. And then Texas is Kylie's team. So have at it. I'll let you guys have a stab.
You want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. I think I've kind of said this throughout the season. I've been really impressed with Texas. Like, I think everyone was expecting them to come out really hot this year. They had their kind of building year last year, and I think they've obviously done a very good job expanding their program throughout the year. And I personally, if I had to play Texas in NCAA or in my conference, I would be nervous because I feel like they're one of those teams that like has all the potential to win and has all the resources. So it stings when it gets taken from you. And I feel almost more nervous to play a team like Texas than I do UCLA or USC
Mm-hmm.
personally. And I think Cal Poly, I mean, we've talked about them a lot. They've had a really good season so far, like hitting all the way up to 3 in the rankings. They're back down to 6, but I mean, they again are another team that have such high technical skills and game plans that like have really benefited them in the past. But again, I think they're beatable. I mean, Long Beach beat them in Laguna. Like you just have to figure out how to beat them strategically, but they're a very hard team to beat. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like it is never gonna, they're never gonna give it to you. You have to freaking grab it from them if you want to win.
Yeah.
So,
Kylie, let's say you have a shake at it.
I mean, I feel like for us, like I feel like just hungry and like getting after it. And I feel like we spent like last year really like getting excited to play. And so this year has kind of just been doing it. And I don't know, just excited for like all the opportunities to play. I feel like, but Cal Poly, I feel like they can be so hit or miss. I feel like when they're playing with like a lot of confidence and like getting after it, like they're playing really high, like they could beat anybody. And then sometimes when they're just more like letting things go or like maybe not taking a game as seriously as they should, I feel like they kind of like let themselves down, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like at the tournament we were at, they're playing against Southern Miss or UNF, or which like based on rankings they should be like totally crushing a team.
Hmm.
And they just like it seemed like they just like weren't prepared or like expecting them to play like the other team to like be playing as well as they did. And then they had to like kind of regroup and go like, oh, okay, like we have to play. So I feel like that could be something they can look out for, I guess.
Yeah. Well, a couple notes for each of those teams. Long Beach State, Malia Jim and Tara Taylor Hagenow. Surprise, surprise, Big West Pair of the Week again. Um, they're near unstoppable. I think they only have 3 total losses on the season, which is amazing. And those losses were to, I believe, it was Sally Perez and Maggie Boyd, and I can't remember the other two. I think it may have been Zoe Henson and Maddie. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget her name. She's mad at me. Forgive me.
White,
Too many
Maddie
names.
White.
Maddie White. There we go. Fellow Texan, right? There we go. You gotta, and then they just have been really strong. Don't the rest of the lineup for Long Beach State, which I know City knows a lot of the pairs in there, but I feel like you can count on that first point at the ones, but the other 4 pairs are still waiting to assert themselves to get the remaining 2 points to win the duels. Um, on the Texas side, one of the things, 2 notes from this last weekend. Ava Quivnin is she can perform in the clutch. She has been big in those moments where Texas has needed those points. She's been a part of the dual deciding matches the last 2 weekends I've been there, and she's been able to get those blocks when needed. And one thing I saw this last weekend about Katie Hashman is she has Lexi Denneberg bombing ability because she hit 3 consecutive balls in a row that would have bounced over backstops without a doubt. And I'm like, where did that come from? And a certain unnamed source is like, well, she's got her mechanics down, and um, it's all coming together now, which is good for obviously that pair that she's in, as well as the Longhorns, because she's becoming quite a threat offensively. So she's not afraid to swing as hard as she can now. So definitely a team to watch. Let's move on up. We're coming up our last few here. USC LMU. Start with you, Kylie. Thoughts on any or both the teams?
I mean, LMU is gonna win their conference. They're gonna get it done. I'm excited to see them in the postseason. I feel like they're one of those teams that like either like cuts through everyone in NCAAs or like kind of is hitting a wall there. So I'm interested to see how that goes for them. And then USC, they're a postseason team too. I mean, we've been saying it every week. So
Yeah. Well, Sydney, I'm going to ask you a trail off question from that, but USC has the potential to win a fifth natty in a row, seventh total since the program inception. Is there any kind of pressure to succeed?
I mean, of course, I think there's pressure every time they step on the court. I mean, being for Pete, you have a target on your back for sure. I think the target may not be as big this year because their season maybe wasn't as good as they hoped for, but do not count them out. I kind of what Kylie said, they are a post-season team and they know how to win in pressure scenarios. And let me tell you, the pressure in Bama and the pressure in conference is like something like nothing else in season. And a lot of teams crumble under it, no matter if they've been ranked third this entire year or fourth or fifth. Even though USC's ranked fifth, I don't know. I just have a feeling that they are gonna whip it out. I don't know if they'll get the fifth Pete, but I definitely think they're gonna they're gonna come strong, and I think that their coach Dane has kind of figured out definitely 1, 2s, and 3s. I know they're still kind of moving their 4s and 5s around, but like you said, you only need 3 to win. So that's
Yeah,
my take on it.
there you go. Well, you can answer the other one about LMU since I made you answer the ad hoc question there. Any
That's
thoughts on
okay.
LMU?
Again, kind of similar to what Kylie said. I think LMU's done a really good job this season, and I think they're gonna either kind of go 2 ways also. Like she said, they're either gonna, you know, get upset or cook everybody. Like I feel like there's no in between, kind of. Like I know in Laguna, I know they didn't have all their pairs in, but they lost to Stetson. But then they've also had some really good wins this year. So I think with their lineup completely set how it maybe has been at the best, I think they should have a very good postseason outcome.
Yeah,
But I mean, again, another team that I definitely think has a good chance that they're going to win their conference and then at NCAAs.
yeah. Well, the only notes I have are the only loss is that USC had this last week. If you're looking at the 1s and 2s only, and look who they're facing: Zoe Henson, Maddie White lost to Maggie Boyd and Sally Perez. Kenny Coakley, Ashley Paitler, a freshman and a sophomore, lost to Perry Brennan, fifth-year stud, Nally Miskowski, another 5-year stud. And that's USC's lineup. They're gonna be in the thick of it without a doubt. And then they move Maya Gester and Mabin Thomas up to the 3s. Maya has been moving up from the 5s now, so Dane's moving those chess pieces in the lineup, and it's gonna. Well, I guess I'll find out tomorrow at the MPSF Beach Championship. So with that comes. Gonna hate to break it into 3 last teams. I know we're running long. Stanford, TCU, UCLA. Stanford at 3, TCU at 2, UCLA at the 1s. We'll go to you, Sydney, and we'll end with you, Kylie, and I'll drop a couple notes on them.
Yes. Okay. No surprise that UCLA and TCU are in the top 5. No surprise there. I've literally been calling it that Stanford's slowly but surely making their way up, and they are. Haha, they're at 3rd this week. So let me just say I called that. I knew it was coming.
Kelly Velarde, just in
Yeah,
case, Sydney's Venmo is. No,
you're funny. You're funny. No, but I have a lot of faith in Stanford. I think they're a very good team. And I think, honestly, I think they're humble. So I always kind of, besides rooting for myself, I always root for the teams that have good work ethic and that are humble. So I am hoping to see them have a good outcome in NCAAs and their conference. And then again, TCU and UCLA, like there's not much that you can say about these 2 programs. Like you kind of just have to go in and like play the best volleyball you've ever played to beat teams like them. But
Yeah.
never say never, but I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. How about you, Kylie? What's your wrap?
Yeah, I feel like Stanford is consistently becoming like one of those teams that is like always going to be in the top 5. They've really grown their program in the past few years, and they've got young people in the lineup that are really performing consistently for them, and that's like an exciting place to be as a program. Still excited to see how they do at MPSF and NCAAs. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people have high hopes for them. And then I feel like there's not much to say about UCLA. Like what Sydney said pretty much like covers it. But I feel like TCU, I feel like when they get kind of to the end, they get more like their backs against the wall, and like haven't really performed, I think, the way they've wanted to in past championships at NCAAs. And so I'm interested to see kind of how that goes, like especially it being they had 12 graduating seniors. So really like seeing how that like propels them this postseason.
Yeah. Interesting you should mention that because one of the graphics that stuck out this week from TCU Social is that graduating 12 are responsible for 588 pair wins.
That's
That
crazy.
is a phenomenal number. And Danny Alvarez and Tanya Moreno surpassed the 100 win mark just this last week. And if you look at the rest of the team, they've got not only those Spaniards, a couple other Spaniards, a Latvian, couple Puerto Ricans, and they are all competing at the international level. And that and we haven't even mentioned anything about Haley Hamlet, who stepped into the ones when Tanya was in the lineup playing with Lena Camille, who her and Haley were the AVCA pairs champions last year. They are deep, but this is what's crazy. They've got freshmen in the lineup playing. Sophia Izuzkia and uh, Reeves are playing for them. So two freshmen in that lineup and some big names are alternates listed, which is even crazier. So TCU is a team that can sneak up behind people. Stanford, I feel like they are so ready. They are so ready. You look at their lineups. I just realized this last weekend they flipped their lineup around because Avery Jackson and Brooke Rockwell are playing the ones. They bumped them down to the twos and put Ruby Sora and Taylor Wilson back at the ones, Jackson Rockwell the twos. And I think maybe Andrews kind of figuring out, well, if I need to move them around for the MPSF championship, what's this going to look like? But it just goes to show that they too are deep. And with UCLA, what have we not said? I mean, this is a good year for them. They're playing very well, particularly the 1 through 3s. So, but all wonderful stuff. Anything else to add as we conclude our extremely long issue, which is awesome. I just didn't think we'd talk this long.
I think we hit it all.
Well, I know that depending on how things go this weekend, some may be happy, some may be sad, but I'm thankful for Sydney Miller of Hawaii, Kylie Wickley of Texas. We got at least one, maybe two more, because we got to do something after the weekend of Gulf Shores. Best of luck to you this weekend, to both of you, and looking forward to chatting again. We'll talk about our time off screen, but again, Sydney Miller, Hawaii, Kylie Wickley of Texas.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.